But the point is, organ donation is extremely important, which is why there are so many ads encouraging you to do it, as well as TV commercials and PSAs, perhaps none more brilliant than this one from Australia.
Have you thought about maybe becoming an organ donor?
Is this really the best time to bring this up?
Oh, we get it, you know, no one wants to talk about death. But, you know, not all of us are going to the eternal paradise, and your organs could save the lives of up to 6 people.
Seven people. Not to mention how your bones and soft tissue and ligaments could change the lives of many others.
And corneas, you'll help blind people see.
What a miracle!
Obviously, I would do it. I'm Jesus.
Right. Of course Jesus would do it, though I will say Jesus having none of his vital organs might complicate his resurrection 3 days later. Easter probably wouldn't be as big if it celebrated the day Jesus rose from the dead and then instantly died again from renal failure. But that ad is right. Organ donation saves lives.
Hey everybody, Hostrone here with another first edition Friday video. We're going to build a vidiian deck, or we've built a vidiian deck. We're going to talk about it. It's my first attempt at a vidiian deck using the new cards. This is definitively a version 1.0. I'm going to just put that disclaimer out right now. This is not necessarily a finalized version, finished version. It is definitely not necessarily exactly a list that I would play in a tournament. I'm not even guaranteeing that this thing will work. I haven't even had a chance to test it yet. The cards are so new, and they're not available in Lackey for me to, you know, test easily or quickly. I have to actually build the deck, you know, in person, physical copy, and then try to test that. And I just simply haven't had the time. I felt it was more important to get a video out to all of you to watch before I start really doing a deep dive. Plus, there's also some fun in just whipping something together and then just talking it out and see if it works. Just theory crafting, basically. So we're gonna go through this first attempt at a vidiian deck using the new cards, and I'm sure that those who play tested will probably have a lot of thoughts and ideas. They'll probably have, you know, if you were one of those play testers, I'm sure you'll watch this and look at this and go, oh, that's dumb, Kevin. That's not the best way to do it. We found this in playtesting. Well, I'm not a playtester, so I haven't had that amount of time to really go over stuff. So you guys, my loyal viewers, are getting quite literally an off-the-cuff, fast, down and dirty version of a new vidiian deck, basically just kind of using the things that popped into my head to start with. So let's go over it. So we're going with this mission set here. We've got Bypass War Zone, Raid Encampment, and Respond to Distress Call in the Alpha Quadrant. And Save Stranded Crew in the Alpha Quadrant. Bypass War Zone and Raid Encampment and Respond to Distress Call in the Delta Quadrant. And then in the Alpha Quadrant, we have Examine Protected Culture, Preliminary Incursion, and Save Stranded Crew. Our plan with the deck is to attempt Bypass War Zone as a space mission in the Delta Quadrant. It's therefore probably a shorter space line, so we mitigate the problems with Cytherians. It's a universal mission that is not heavily played, so it's probably not going to get duplicated. It's only worth 25 points, and normally it's just not a very popular mission because it's only worth 25 points, and you can only score the additional 10 points if no not-aligns are in the crew. But for the new Vidians, that's not a problem. This is essentially a 35-point mission for them. And so it's a good mission for the Vidians in the Delta Quadrant, and they have a native symbol on here. So, alright, and so then in order to try to 2-mission win, we go to the Alpha Quadrant, and for that we have Examine Protected Culture as kind of our first choice. Mission to attempt. Any away team may attempt the missions, worth 35 points, and you only need 2 officers, an engineer, and either civilian, music, or a classic communicator, and civilian or music are both available to us. Sorry, not Dareth, that's on Motura, I believe. Yes, Motura is our person who provides us with that, the civilian or the music, or both, basically. And then 2 officers and engineer are not very difficult to come up with. There are plenty of those. We have multiple Thadens for the engineer. We have Nadirums for officer. He's an important thing. We've got Chakotay providing us with an officer, etc., etc. So, and then of course, if we kill or harvest an opponent's personnel that has officer as a skill, we can use Honata to pull that skill out as well. And then we do 3 organ thefts in order to round the corner to 100. And we have 4 organ thefts in total in the deck. Because then that way we're going to use 3 of them to score for 30 points, and the other one's essentially the bonus that doesn't get discarded so that we can keep the engine going, and that's, we kind of start with that one if we need to. So, right, we have 3 vidiian harvesters in the deck. We are doing the search for spares, so we have the copy of Organ Bank in the draw deck. And so basically, like, we have a 49 card deck, but assuming we don't draw the Organ Bank, we will then be able to just pull an Organ Bank and 3 universal vidiians out of the deck on the first turn, and we're basically functionally working with like a 45 card deck. So, and then with the 7 cards in your hand, you're down to basically 38 cards that are left in the deck after you draw your opening 7. So, right. So, we are basically we're using the new cards. We've got the new surgical knowledge, the surgical techniques, we have the search for spares, we have the vidiian sodality seeded so that we have a free play medical classification vidiian or medical equipment, which is the vidiian harvester. And then what we're trying to do is if we get lucky, we have an opponent that has a non-aligned or vidiian icon mission on our side of their space line. What we do is we seed the search for spares on that mission, and then on our first turn, our start of turn is to download the Organ Bank and 3 universals, and we make sure one of those universals is a Thaden with his engineer. And then we can use Construct Starship, and we can turn our card play into the download of a vidiian outpost, which we have in the Q's tent, and then we use its special download to get another vidiian sodality, and we use the second function, we put it on our vidiian cruiser, which the Organ Bank is. And then now we have a roving reporting location for our vidiians. We still have our vidiian outpost back in the Delta Quadrant, though, so that if we encounter an opponent who is going to be able to deal with our Organ Bank, like maybe early and often with battle, then we can just switch gears and we can just basically do all of our reporting in the Delta Quadrant, and we can just start in the Delta Quadrant. And that's just kind of basically what the deck is. I mean, we're just going to be using, we're just going to basically find a way to like get our opponent's people separated and organ theftable. And for that, obviously, we go with two copies of Deadly Donation, and we put those at the 2 planet missions that we think our opponent is most likely to attempt, and we can follow that up with some Primal Urges that is getting boosted with Let Me Help, and then we can follow that up with either a Matriarchal Society or the Medical Crisis, and thus we make our planet locations really very difficult for our opponent and separates people off. We're using 2 copies of the Male's Love Interest Plague Ship, 2 copies of Female's Love Interest Garbage Scow. Those will also separate out opponent's personnel, make them go to the far end of the space line, where our Organ Bank will then be able to go and swoop them up. So we feel very confident that we are able to pull off our 3 organ thefts for 30 points in a game, and we just hope that maybe we get lucky and we rip off some people that have good skills that we can harvest, and then we can use Honata to pull. For space, we have the love interest garbage scow and stuff like that. So we make the opponent's ship get kicked out of the mission attempt, and then we hit them with the herd and harvest. We have 2 in the draw deck, 1 in the Q's tent. We have a Paler Toff in the Q's tent in case we need to get something back that we want, such as a Honata or a herd and harvest or a Q's tent, because we do have the 1 copy of the interrupt in the draw deck. And again, we are using the Q's tent as a switchblade option here. We have multiple Q's tents, and so we have many options for what we can go get. We can grab an early herd and harvest if we need it. We can grab an early Kevin Uxbridge if we want it. We can grab Genetronic Replicator, which plays on table, and when a person else targeted to die, you may stop your 2 medical present who are not also targeted to return that person to hand instead, which allows us to basically kind of keep our people alive, or at the very least we retain access to them. Since Vidiians have a lot of medical, and they gain a medical as long as they're present with a Vidiian harvester, so basically Vidiians are very difficult to kill, and we have the Genetronic Replicator to make that happen. The other thing we Q-tent for at some point in the game is we Q-tent for our Barzan wormhole in order for us to be able to move between the Alpha and Delta quadrants through the preliminary incursion mission. And we have multiple options for dealing with an opponent's Mila. We can use the Temporal Conduit to go get Stone Knives and Bearskins, which is the standard counterattack. If we want to, we could Q-tent for an Orbital Bombardment, and we can have that be our card play instead of downloading our outpost. We could just go first turn Q-tent onto an Orbital Bombardment, and we can move our Organ Bank over top our opponent. So instead of, or in addition to, organ thefting an opponent on like a first turn, if they've left people out in the open with duck blind or what have you, we can maybe beam down, organ theft a dude, and then we can maintain a staffing on our ship somehow. Oh, it's not bad. It doesn't even have to be staffed. As long as the ship is at a planet location at the end of turn, has not battled, we can probe. So we also have Orbital Bombardment available to us to kill early people that are out in the open on a planet. So the Vidiians are definitely going to make duck blinds and ore process ore mining and stuff like that a very dangerous proposition in the meta going forward, or at least for a little while until things maybe calm down. Yeah. Same way with headquarters. If people have side mission specialists kind of out in the open for whatever reason, or even at say Earth, the Vidiians are also going to make probing at Cochrane Memorial a dangerous prospect between organ thefts and orbital bombardments. It also allows the Vidiians then to be able to just go ahead and have that organ bank attack a landed ship early. So even landed ships are not necessarily safe from the Vidiians now with an orbital bombardment. So yeah, I think orbital bombardment coming out of the Q-Sense can be a powerful play for the Vidiians. So yeah. We have the multiple copies of Vidiian Boarding Claw on the deck, one which gets downloaded by an organ bank, one gets special downloaded by the Vidiian Cruiser, and then of course we have the Paler Toff to get it back should we later on want it again. So the galaxy is going to be a very dangerous place right now with Vidiians just kind of running around, organ harvesting random people. It's going to make the need for skill reinforcement, like skill duplication, having plenty of the skills that you need. It's going to make it so that a person's going to have to more densely pack their skills in their deck and have plenty of bonus copies and additional copies of vital skills in their deck, because the Vidiians are going to definitely put a pressure on that. It's also going to make, with the strong likelihood of Vidiian players playing with Let Me Help in order to peel people off, you're going to have to basically accept that we're going to be living in a meta for a little while anyway that's probably going to see a lot of play with gender drain and stuff like that, moving your people around. And so the ability to have multiple ships that can fly around or have the ability to get around a space line easily with, you know, a card played or free played through Obsession copies of quantum slipstream drives so that you can kind of bounce around the space line very easily to pick your people up and try to protect them as best you can is important. But yes, multiple ships is going to be a very big deal, I think, in the meta going forward for a little bit. Whether Vidiians become very strong, whether they are played heavily in your meta, whether they become a meta force for major tournaments, will definitely be yet to be seen. I think that they're definitely going to make their presence known, but whether they are a top deck or not, that'll kind of be up to seeing how things shake out as people figure things out and how they want to play this deck. But we have a few small tricks in the deck with the Stay Stranded crew. We have the All-Consuming Evil, which can pull out a surprise Armus energy field, which then will force an opponent to be able to... It's going to force them to put a mission requirements solving ability group out into space for you. And then, yeah, you know, Archaeology is a tough ask for a lot of decks, and so Quantum Leap seems like it's a good one. And then if you want to try to target Archaeology with your Vidiians, that might be a good way to go. You can target females with Matriarchal Society, etc. So, but the galaxy is going to be a very dangerous place for sure with organ thefting Vidiians running around and stuff like that right now. So, but that's not to say that, I mean, I disagree with people who are saying that like Vidiians are just going to overwhelm solver decks and no one's going to be able to do what they want to do anymore. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that solver decks that were already vanilla and a little too lackadaisical, they're the ones that Vidiians are going to prey on. But those are also the decks that if they are willing to just put some counterattack into their deck and are willing to play more skilled, dense personnel at a slower pace, they may also be able to do very well against Vidiians. Vidiians can't really get to you on your outposts, so as long as you keep your personnel protected on your outposts, keep your people protected at your headquarters, the Vidiians really can't gain access to them. And so basically it's going to be more about are your card draw engines the Vidiians are that they're going to kind of glob on, are they based on personnel being out in the open, or are they more based on card plays out of hand? Are they more based on things that you can do while protected? And so, you know, study divergent history in your headquarters is going to be better. New arrivals is going to be good. Things like that are going to be what you're going to have to do. So, yeah. So that's kind of the deck. We have some of the other downloads. We can download a space dock in addition with Construct Starships so that if our organ bank gets damaged, we can do a quick repair, which is a relatively important thing because if we boarding claw the opponent and then they pull away, both ships will be damaged. So that's something important to keep in mind. But speaking of which, what we've gone with our battle bridge is the 4 hyperthermic charges and 6 copies of target warp field coils. That averages out to getting us 4 flips for a destruction. But then the hypothermic charges are gonna, are still 40% there in order to get us possibly a bonus play and stuff like that. So I apologize to everybody if you can hear my puppies barking. My wife just got home. I'm not sure if they're coming through the microphone. I assume they are because I can hear them. So I apologize. My little Kahlua gets very excited when Mama comes home. So apologize for that. But yeah, basically the idea is if your opponent tries to pull away from your Vidiian boarding claw, the likelihood that they rip off 2 target warp field coils is high, in which case they go to -6 immediately, and then therefore cannot leave the mission. That's kind of the idea. If you want to play with things like, and that's also kind of the, playing with the cloud, if you damage the opponent's ship, they're likely to have their range reduced drastically. So, yeah. But that's basically the deck. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. If you have any comments, suggestions, feel free to leave those in the comments. you know, I'm always willing to kind of build with the people. Hi, Finny. Sorry, everybody. That's Finny. He's here to see his dad. Sorry, everybody. Mr. Finn just got let out. He ran down and wants to have a dad. So, all right. But thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate you. You know, watching my videos. I do see how many people are watching, and I do appreciate everybody who does watch. And again, I apologize for my loud puppies. They're very active little weens and very loud little weens sometimes. So, but thanks for watching, everybody. May the prophets be with you.